Hello, I'm Carla, and I have Jess joining me today in an abdominal class. There are quite some strong abdominals that we're doing today. If you are menstruating or if you have any menstrual abnormalities whatsoever, if you're pregnant, please be cautious. You're not to do these strong abdominal poses. When we are doing the abdominal poses, I will give you options to do for beginner poses because there are also some arm balancings that might challenge you. If you are a beginner, some of these poses are definitely intermediate poses, but as a beginner, you absolutely should be trying them and playing around with them. We're beginning our class seated in Vajrasana. Vajrasana is when the knees are together, the toes are together, and you are sitting each buttock bone on each heel. Keep the outer ankles cutting in, and with the outer ankles cutting in, feel that head of the shin bone is on the floor. As you sit back, if there is any pain in the ankles or the knees, please just take more height to sit on or sit in a different seated position. Bringing the hands together in the prayer position. As you inhale, lift up your chest, extend the spine, and on an exhalation, let the eyes gently close. Taking soft inhalations, soft exhalations here. This practice of breathing at the beginning of class is in an attempt to bring your focus to your mat, to your body, to your breath, so that you can take this time that you've set aside for your practice to be fully engaged in your practice. So we'll begin today's class with the 3 Oms. On an exhalation, drop your chin down. Keep that lift of the chest. Feel that stretch across the tops of your shoulders, the back of your neck. And then on another exhalation, release the hands into your lap. Lift your head on an inhalation and open your eyes. And coming forward onto your hands and your knees, just stretch one leg out at a time. You don't need to let the leg float up in the air. You don't need to wiggle it around. You're just extending it so that you're releasing the knees and the front of the ankle after sitting in Vajrasana. Right, so we're jumping straight into abdominal work. We're coming to Ardha Navasana. Ardha Navasana is often taught after Paripurna Navasana, but in today's class, a lot of the abdominals, we're working that contraction of the abdomen that you access so much easier in Ardha Navasana. So we're beginning in Ardha Navasana. Sitting, you're keeping your knees bent, and we're coming to Ardha Navasana from the seated position. In Ardha Navasana, you interlace the fingers behind your head. Try not to clamp your head with your elbows. Just keep a nice freedom. You're also not widening the elbows too much. Just nicely relax the shoulders like you're doing head balance. As you exhale, you want to empty the abdomen, contract the abdomen, roll the chest back, and when the feet become light, lift the legs off the floor and straighten the legs, straighten the knees. Breathe here. Exhale. Contract the abdomen, draw the abdomen back to the spine. Keep breathing. They're short, sharp breaths, and you're only going to hold as long as you can. When you're ready, come back to seated. If it's a challenge for you to come back to seated, then just go back to lying down. Okay, we'll try a second one. Having the hands clasped behind the back is much easier. It gives you that hand support. But for some people, holding the arms out in front like Paripurna Navasana, you can imagine that you're holding on to something. So with the arms locked here, see how it goes. Ardha Navasana, rolling down onto the tailbone, extending the legs. In Ardha Navasana, the eyes and the toes are in line with each other. And then you either, if you have the strength in your back, you come up by pulling the arms forward, or you just lie down. Have a rest. We'll do another Ardha Navasana, but this time you can either do it from seated if you're a beginner, or if you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, let's do the more classic coming from the floor. When you interlace the fingers, so come onto the mat. When you interlace the fingers, there's a natural way that you clasp instinctively, and then do the opposite clasp here. And on an inhalation, you're keeping that chest nice and open, you're preparing yourself mentally, and as you exhale, strong into the abdominals, lift up. Ardha Navasana, you'll see, has got a curved spine, but the chest is still open. Breathe here, and when you can't hold anymore, you're going to release, relax, and rest. So Ardha Navasana is the half boat. Paripurna Navasana is the full boat. Paripurna Navasana can also be done from a seated position. So exactly like how we began in Ardha Navasana. Now what you're going to do is feel for a moment where your buttock bones are. So if you take your hands forward to your feet and you just gently rock from side to side, you can feel your buttock bones. Just move the flesh out of the way so that you're sharply on the buttock bones. When you lean back here now, for Ardha Navasana, the back rounded. In Paripurna Navasana, you're keeping the spine straight. So the sacrum has to come into the body. You're holding onto the backs of the legs. As you lean back, lift the chest, contract the abdomen, and straighten the legs. In Paripurna Navasana, the toes are above the eyes. So begin to straighten the legs. You can straighten the arms, lift your chest, keep the abdomen contracted. If it's within your practice to release the hands, you do. Be there for a few breaths. Then when you feel ready to come down, just come down back to a seated position and relax. So in Ardha Navasana, when you roll the spine, you allowed yourself to come onto the tailbone. In Paripurna Navasana, you keep trying to lift that sacrum into the body to come towards the buttock bones. Keep the chest lifted, which is why that arm shape is so helpful. Coming back from seated now without support, hands at your sides. From the seated position, knees bent. Hands at your sides like Paripurna. So now you're not holding on to the legs. As you lean back, you're going to draw the chest up. Once you find your balance, extend the legs. Breathe, firm up the legs, contract the abdomen, breathe. As you breathe, keep lifting the sacrum off the floor, keep lifting the chest, and then release and come back to seated. Paripurna Navasana, the classic pose, is done from Dandasana. In Dandasana, we're extending the legs out in front. So the legs have to be strong and they have to lift. So taking the hands behind you, especially if you're a beginner, do these prep bits. Feel as if you're drawing from the heels into the hip socket. So the legs have to be compact. Thighs are strong, outer thighs, outer hips compact. And then lean back onto the hands and lift the legs up for Paripurna Navasana. You may need to use a little bit of momentum to do this and then come down. And then try it a few times. So hands behind you, lift the legs. Exhale, come down. Hands behind you, inhale. And as you exhale, lift the legs. Feel what Paripurna Navasana takes. And then slowly you start to bring the hands more next to the hips, not back so much. And slowly you start to rely more on strength and oomph and not just momentum. So the legs come up for Paripurna Navasana. Arms are extended at the sides, chest lifts, sacrum lifts, legs are strong and straight. You're breathing. Try to keep the jaw soft. And then when you've done Paripurna Navasana for a few breaths, come back to Dandasana. For a moment, just lie flat on your back with space over your head so you can stretch your arms over your head, stretch the legs away, just get a lovely stretch and extension in the abdomen. So you should be feeling nice and warm in the abdomen. Now we're going to warm up the rest of the body with just a few little flows to get the hips and the wrists and the rest of the body warmed up. So we are coming to the front of the mat in Tadasana. Coming to stand in Tadasana. In Tadasana, your feet are together. In Tadasana, you keep the legs nice and strong. Your arms are engaged, elbows are locked, chest is well opened. Coming to Urdhva Hasta Tadasana, arms are up over your head. And as you exhale, you're going to bend the knees to Utkatasana. As you exhale to Utkatasana, keep the abdomen drawing back to the spine, keep the flesh of the buttocks releasing down. Now, on the next exhalation, let your abdomen lay on your thighs as you fold forward to Uttanasana. Straighten the legs if it's within your capacity. From Uttanasana, step the right foot back, step the left foot back, come to Adho Mukha Svanasana. In Adho Mukha Svanasana, you want to lift the root of the right thigh and draw it back. You're pressing into the hands, especially the index finger and the thumb mount. And as you press into the hands, lock the elbows, make the arms long. As you press into the hands and you make the arms long, lengthen the sides of the body also. Breathe here. Adho Mukha Svanasana. Take your knees to the floor now, knees wide, toes together for Adho Mukha Virasana. If you are practicing as a beginner at any point in time, if you need to release, this is the pose you come to, Adho Mukha Virasana. If you place the elbows on the floor in Adho Mukha Virasana, it becomes even a more restorative pose. Coming back to Adho Mukha Svanasana now, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, look forward to the front of your mat, swing the right foot forward. From the lunge, step the left foot forward, come to Uttanasana. Now in Uttanasana, you have to engage the abdomen. Uttanasana, you can let the head go down, hands at the sides of the feet, it's the forward fold. From Uttanasana, you're going to bend the knees. Now engaging the abdomen, swing the arms overhead to Utkatasana. From Utkatasana, you want to press into the heels and lift the shins to straighten the legs. Release the hands at your sides in Tadasana. Nice full breath in and out. We're preparing to go into that same vinyasa, slightly different, but with the left leg. So locking the elbows, drawing up the thighs, extending the spine, Tadasana, Urdhva Hasta Tadasana, exhale, Utkatasana. Even here in Utkatasana, already start to feel that lift of the shins. On an exhalation with some abdominal control, take your hands to the floor. Let the head go down so you can straighten up the legs for Uttanasana. If you need a set of bricks, if you're not very flexible, please have that. From Uttanasana, step the left foot back into a lunge and step the right foot back, coming to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog. In Adho Mukha Svanasana, you're going to take the knees to the floor, keeping the knees hip distance apart, and then move the hands back underneath the shoulders. So because we're doing some weight bearing and arm balancings, it's important to warm up the wrists a little bit with the fingertips facing forward. You can just go around in circles, just moving over around the fingers, just getting the weight to sort of circulate over the whole hand, warming up the wrist in this way. You can then go circles in the opposite direction. So it is good to try and keep warming up, especially if you are going to be doing a lot of arm balancings. And then another nice warm up is to turn the hands so that the fingers face you. You can do fingers facing out, fingers facing you. Just stretch that wrist down. By sitting back, you intensify that stretch of the inner forearm. And then from here, bring the hands back to a neutral position. Take the hands a full hand step forward, which is the measurement for Adho Mukha Svanasana. Turning the toes under, come back to downward facing dog. We're going to complete the vinyasa. So from downward facing dog, look to the front of the mat, and the left foot is going to come swinging forward. Right foot will join it. Take the head down, complete your Uttanasana. From Uttanasana, again, strengthen the abdomen, bend the knees, and lift your arms. Keep the shins tall. Breathe. Keep the back waist long, and then straighten up to Urdhva Hasta Tadasana. Release the hands at your sides in Tadasana. Breathe. Just let the arms be soft, let the knees relax so that the thighs aren't working strongly. Just catch your breath. We're coming to another more full lengthy vinyasa here. Again, at any time, if you need to rest, Adho Mukha Virasana is your go-to pose. Right, so from Tadasana, stretch the arms over your head, Urdhva Hastasana. As you exhale, containing the abdomen, lifting the shins, lengthening the back waist, you're sitting into Utkatasana. Utkatasana is a strong, intense pose. Don't hold the breath. On an exhalation, release the hands to the floor, straighten up the leg, let go the head, Uttanasana. Uttanasana, restorative calming, but keep the legs nice and strong. You're looking back to where you're going to go now for Ardha Mukha Svanasana. We're coming into a lunge here, so right leg, step it back, coming into a nice deep lunge. You want to keep that right knee off the floor, keep that right leg strong. Bring that left hand to the inside of the left knee, and you want to keep that chest lifted. Make sure that this back leg is supporting you. Now coming down onto your forearms, so bending your elbows onto the forearms into Uttana Plistasana, the lizard pose. If you're unable to get the forearms on the floor, you can always just bend the elbows and go to a point where you can. And then from here, straighten up the arms, step back into Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. Release. Relax the groin region, let the legs move back, spine nice and long. Now, looking to the front of the mat, step the right foot forward. Keep that back leg strong. If you are a beginner and you're not very strong, you're welcome to take the knee to the floor, but keep it strong. Bring the right hand to the inside of the right knee. The right knee has to roll from outer to inner to stay attached to the body. Then keeping that extension in the front body, work your way down onto your forearms, elbows are bending in lizard pose, Uttan Plistasana. Keep this right inner thigh and the side of your body connected. From here, straighten up, step back into downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, right leg forward, left leg joins it, come to Uttanasana. From Uttanasana, bend your knees, lift to Utkatasana. From Utkatasana, pressing into the feet, lift the shins, Urdhva Hasta Tadasana, releasing Tadasana, and just have a rest here. From Tadasana, we're going to come to another vinyasa now, taking with the left leg. So Urdhva Hasta arms, stretch the arms overhead, exhale, come to Utkatasana. Utkatasana, you want the buttocks to descend, the shins to lift up, the chest to lift. And on the next exhalation, hands to the floor in Uttanasana. In Uttanasana, you're straightening up the legs to try and bring the weight of the hips over the ankles. Let go the head, crown of the head faces towards the floor. If you're in the full Uttanasana, of course. Now, step the left foot back. With the left foot back, you're going to bring the right hand on the inside of the right leg. And we're coming again to the lizard pose, Uttan Plistasana, where you're bringing the forearms onto the floor. So we've done this side already, where you're trying to keep the inner thigh and the leg together. You're trying to keep that back leg together. But now what you're going to do is move the hands back and take the right hand on the outer right ankle. And you're trying to get that right upper arm underneath the knee. You want to feel that this right arm moves into the crease at the back of that knee. Both hands are like in a push-up position in Chaturanga. Back leg is strong. When you've been there for a few breaths, unhook that right arm, step back to downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, just relax that hip region, relax the groin that was so deeply bent. And then again, left foot forward. Left foot forward. Now with the left foot forward, bring the left hand on the inside of the left leg first. Get that connection between the thigh and the upper body. And then start to come down onto your forearms. Feel that thigh starting to climb onto that shoulder, onto the upper body. And from Uttan Plistasana, move the hands back. So we're starting to work into Eka Hasta, Eka one Hasta. So this one hand is under the knee. Feel that contact. Push that upper arm into that knee crease. This right leg, keep it straight. When you've been there for a few breaths, release that arm from underneath and swing back to downward facing dog. Release in downward facing dog here. Keep the groins passive, hips quiet. And then stepping the left foot forward, step the right foot forward, come to Uttanasana. In this Uttanasana position again, let the head go down, let the legs become straight. You're going to bend the knees, control the abdomen to lift the arms overhead to Utkatasana. Don't hold Utkatasana for too long, straightening up, release the hands at your sides, Tadasana. In this Tadasana, just relax. Relax the shoulders, relax the arms, relax the legs. Just feel the effects of those vinyasas on your body. Right, we're coming to Dandasana now. So Dandasana is seated. If you are unable to sit flat, if you're unable to get that lift of the sacrum into the body, then you can take a little bit of height underneath the buttocks to help you get that extension up through the spine. It is also going to be helpful for you to have breaths. In some instances, sometimes even 3 or 4 bricks help. And the bricks are just to put at your sides. You're going to take your hands on the bricks, seated in Dandasana. When you straighten up the legs, you want to contract the legs and draw from the heels back to the hips, contract the abdomen and lift the buttocks back and up. And then when you've been there for a couple of breaths, just release down. So the bricks are helpful. A blanket under the feet so that you can slide forward and backwards as you need is also very helpful. If your arms are long enough and you don't need the bricks, don't take them. And the more you're able to contract the abdomen, the less height you need for the hands. So again, contracting the abdomen, buttocks shoot back, still try to keep the chest lifting forward, keep that contraction in the abdomen, breathe and breathe. Keep sucking the legs back. And when you come down, try to slide forward to bring the buttocks back in line with the hands. So this abdominal crunch, this pike action, quite important for some of the intermediate poses we're going to attempt today. So one more. Inhale, and as you exhale, pushing into the hands, suck up the thighs, contract the abdomen, breathe, and keep breathing those short, sharp breaths. And when you've had enough, you're going to release, come down. So in Dandasana, you want to then lift the feet off the floor as well. And that becomes super, super challenging, especially if you're not very strong. It sometimes bites into the quadricep. So a few ways you can work into it just to get the feel of it is to have a little bit of height underneath the feet. So like these shoulder balance foams are great because they're going to give you a little bit of height. So coming into the pike action here, you'll feel what it feels like to have the legs lifted. When you've been practicing there for a bit, release, and then we'll try again. Another way of working into it is once you're in that pike position to try and lift one leg at a time. It's not the easiest thing to do, but it is one way of working at strengthening the legs. So when you're ready, using that forceful exhalation to come to that pike action, you want to lift either both legs at the same time. Well done, Jess. Or working one leg at a time. Excellent. Do you need to rub? So keep practicing those. Sometimes even Paripurna Navasana, the quadricep really clamps up. This kind of contraction in the abdomen, this drawing up, this lifting is important for poses like Lolasana and Tolasana. So we're going to be working into Lolasana today. You can start practicing the leg bind for Lolasana by working into Gomukhasana. But otherwise, a nice, easy way of going into Lolasana, other than coming into it from Dandasana, is to come into it on all fours. You're going to have your bricks onto your knees. You'll have your bricks on the tall heights. If you don't have bricks, 2 even benches, stacks of books, whatever DVD boxes will do. So from here, you're going to cross your one shin over the other at the back. You can extend the toes and you're sitting back onto the feet. So the right buttock on the left heel, the left buttock to the right heel. From here, you want to contract the abdomen, lift up the knees, lift up the knees to the chest, push into the arms and lift the feet. If you have to be super careful that that brick is firm on the floor. If it wobbles and falls, it could really hurt. And then once you've got that steadiness in the bricks, you lift the feet. If you're steady and you can rock back and forth, like a dangling earring, then that's what Lolasana is. So the more you're able to contract, the longer your arms are, the more slender your limbs are, the more you're able to get up. And as you practice, you can start trying to lower the bricks, see if then you're able to lift up. If the lower brick doesn't work for you, lift the brick. Obviously, if you have wrists or shoulder injuries, this isn't going to be a possibility for you. Once you've done about 3 attempts on this side, come up onto all fours and change the cross of the legs. Again, you would not do any of these hard abdominal exercises if you're pregnant or menstruating or have any menstrual complications. When you're ready, exhale, contract, and see, can you lift? Nice. Beautiful. Well done. And each time you come down, relax the shoulders, rest. Notice which areas build up tension, and then you'll try again. Contracting the abdomen, lifting the knees to the chest, getting the bulk of the thigh lifted, and suck the feet up. Breathe when you're there. You hold it only as long as you can. You do only as many as you're able to. Last one, if we're able to this time, can we maybe dangle? Maybe. If you can't, that's also good. There we go. Well done. So the dangling is also good because it helps you to then extend the legs through in Dandasana. So that's the next stage. So that Lolasana is really worth practicing, especially if you do want to develop that kind of vinyasa practice. Right. One last abdominal exercise we are doing is called Hasta Bhujasana. You'll keep your bricks. You're bringing one leg over the arm and then you're lifting. Coming to sit in Dandasana. Have your bricks because the bricks are going to help you to launch off. So the first thing we're going to do is bring that right leg around you. Bring the right leg in towards you. Now, when you bring the right leg in towards you, hold underneath that right ankle with your right hand and hold on top of the left ankle with your left hand. This right knee shouldn't be rolling out to the side. So this left hand, use it to turn, to bring that internal rotation and to bring the knee on top, as high up on your upper arm as possible, like a handbag. Then this, holding with the left hand only, bring the right hand back. Then when you've clamped, this leg has to clamp. It can't just hang there. Now, pike action with the leg, buttocks back, and then this leg lifts. Hasta Bhujasana. Beautiful. And release. Again, sometimes you get that horrible cramp in the leg. Sometimes you get that cramp in the diaphragm. So take a breath in Dandasana. And now you're going to use your left leg as a handbag. Again, get that rotation. Get it on top there. Once you've got it clamped in position, it has to clamp. The arm has to be squeezed between the calf and the thigh. You lift the buttocks, you lift the foot, you breathe, and then release and come down, release in Dandasana. Excellent. Beautiful poses. You're going to set your bricks aside. Sometimes these abdominal poses do end up making you contract strongly in the abdomen, which might not be a very pleasant feeling. So taking a bolster behind you, you're going to have a blanket in position for your head. And with the knees wide, you're not sitting on the bolster. You get your spine centered on the bolster. Use the blanket support to support the head and the neck. Feel that the top shoulder at the back, that top shoulder is released away from the ears. The skin of the shoulder blades is down the back. And especially the flesh of the buttocks, you can manually adjust it. Make sure the flesh of the buttocks are well away from the back waist. Here, relax completely. You can close the eyes. Relax the arms. They've had to work hard. So rest the back of the hand on the floor. Rest the wrist. Rest the elbows. And although the shoulders are suspended and the upper arm is not resting on anything, let that whole upper arm region be completely released also. Because you're climbing up the bolster, there's this expanse that happens in the abdomen in the Supta Baddha Konasana position. And here, just feel that openness, feel that broadness, that release. So it's important just to take a few minutes to release after these abdominal exercises. The different abdominal exercises work different parts of the body. For example, Paripurna Navasana tones the kidneys and the back, and it works the intestines, whereas Ardha Navasana, the half pose, it stimulates the liver and the gallbladder and the spleen. So do mix them up and do all of them. Don't just do your favorites. And then the others obviously strengthen your upper body and also your back muscles. Right. So if you have an inversion practice, if you do shoulder balance within your practice, we're going to come to shoulder balance now. Shoulder balance in an Iyengar practice is done on support. The reason we take the support is so that when you are in shoulder balance and your head is down in Jalandhara Bandha, that bony one that sticks out, C7, that isn't going to take too much strain if you've got a little bit of height, a little bit of support to create some freedom for the neck. You have to take a strap and open it so that the loop goes from outer shoulder to outer shoulder, so measure it with your shoulders. If you don't have foams, you can use stacks of blankets or a nice sturdy throw. Putting a blanket on top of the foams keeps them all together, also provides a little bit of slip so that your shoulders can move, and then another blanket for the head just to create some softness. We'll be coming into Halasana first. Halasana is the plow, where you're kicking your feet over your head. So unless you have a shoulder injury or a neck injury or very uncontrolled high blood pressure, you wouldn't do Halasana and shoulder balance. You would then just lie down and take your feet up the wall, or you can repeat Supta Baddha Konasana, which we did a moment ago, lying over the bolster. Otherwise, keeping your neck and your shoulders on the support, your head on the floor. You're going to kick your feet over your head. You can either take them to a wall or a bench if you're not very flexible, or bringing them to the floor is more classic. You want to dig into the feet, lift the knees, lift the thighs. Now, take the strap and place it around the upper arm behind your back. This helps to keep the elbows in place. Then you're going to keep using your hands to bring the shoulder blades here into the body, so that when you bring the shoulder blades up and into the body, the chest comes towards the chin in that Jalandhara Bandha shape. You come into shoulder balance, one leg at a time or two legs, whatever is within your practice to do. If shoulder balance is not within your practice, if Halasana feels claustrophobic and weird, stay there for a little bit. If there's any pain, come out of it. Shoulder balance is actually a lot more freeing than Halasana. You don't have that hard Jalandhara Bandha. And here, the abdominal organs are turned upside down. So everything is being bathed by blood, and everything is sort of in a different position in space. So all the organs are floating there. Keep moving the chest towards the chin. Keep the back of the neck long, the throat, the jaw quiet, the face also quiet and relaxed. In shoulder balance, you can see Jess has a nice straight line. So you want to create a plumb line from the shoulders, the hips stack directly above the shoulders, and then the knees stack above the hips, and the ankles stack above the knees. So the middle buttock keeps coming in, but this front thigh keeps lifting up, and the front thigh keeps moving back, opening the front groins. You're only going to hold shoulder balance as long as you feel comfortable. When you're ready, you're going to take the feet to the floor, back to Halasana. And then you can remove the strap, set it aside so that when you roll out, you don't roll onto the metal bit. Slowly unroll so that your head doesn't fly up. Move off your supports, taking the shoulders onto the floor so that only the head is on the support. And then here, just relax completely. Relax the shoulders. You can have the legs in Baddha Konasana or extended, whatever you've got space for. Relax the shoulders, relax the neck, relax the throat. Complete quietness in the body here. Just feeling the effects of your practice. Okay. Bending your knees, you're going to roll onto your side. And you're going to take either two of the shoulder balance foams if you have them. And if you don't, just have your bricks with a couple of folded blankets on top. With two shoulder balance foams in the middle of your mat, you're going to place your bolster on top of these foams like a seesaw. And we're coming to a variation of Setu Bandha called cross bolsters. You're sitting on the front of the bolster like a seesaw. Lay your back down the center of the bolster until your shoulders are on the floor. Back of the neck is long, exactly like the same Jalandhara Bandha shape you had a moment ago in shoulder balance. And if you've managed to slide down the bolster and get all that flesh of the back pinned in position, straighten the legs. With the legs straight, feel your body. You're getting this lovely extension in the front body. So this is just one final release for the abdomen, just one final openness, one final restorative, so that any cramping that may have happened can hopefully wash away here. However, if it feels like your back is catching in this, you will either need to bend your knees, or if you know that your back struggles in this pose, by placing a bolster or folded blankets or foams near your feet will soften the extent of this back bend so that you can comfortably just get that lovely openness in the abdomen. Also remembering some of those poses really work the thighs. So here there's that openness in that front groin and a release of that quadricep. So really take time just to stretch out, to release, especially as some of these abdominal poses can be quite hard and intense. You don't want to practice them too often. As beneficial as they are, once a week is cool. Right. Once you've had some time to just release and let go and stretch out, you're going to put your feet on the floor once more. You're going to roll onto your right-hand side, come off the bolster, have your head and your hip on the same level, and then come up. Take whatever support you need for Shavasana. So a blanket for the head, if you'd like, just to create a little bit of softness and support for the head and the neck. If you like having the legs straight, if you're able to lie comfortably with the legs straight, as in classic Shavasana, then you're coming to lie straight up in classic Shavasana. If you need a bolster underneath the knees to kind of soften the groins, then take whatever support you need in Shavasana. So yoga is a very personal practice, and in Iyengar yoga especially, where we use all these props for different reasons, use them in your restoratives also. As you exhale, completely release any tension in the body. As you exhale, soften the skin and the muscles of the face. Soften especially the top shoulder. The arms have worked hard today, so from that shoulder, completely release the arm. Make sure the elbow, the forearm, the wrist are comfortably rested on the floor. The palm faces up to the ceiling in a gesture of receiving, and the fingers are just curled into the palm. The back of the neck is long, throat is soft. As you exhale, releasing into the abdomen, quietly let go of the hips. Feel how the legs roll from inner to outer so that the feet flop out to the sides. There must be no tension anywhere in the body. Make whatever adjustments you need to find that complete surrender, that complete serenity of Shavasana. You can spend as much time in Shavasana as you want or need. Coming back to your breath, start to allow the inhalation to just deepen here. Bring your hands anywhere to rest on your abdomen where is comfortable for you. Elbows rested on the floor, shoulders relaxed still. Connect with your breath. Let each inhalation just become a little bit fuller, each inhalation bringing you back to a full conscious state. Stretch your arms over your head on an inhalation. As you exhale, yawn or sigh the breath out. And then bending your knees, you're going to roll onto your right side. Cradle your head in your right arm. Let the knees curl into the chest in the fetal position. And the left side of the body is just holding you in this quiet, still Shavasana state. Using your left hand to push you up, come to a seated position. Once you're seated in any comfortable cross-legged position or Bhujasana or Virasana, just close the eyes once more so that you can bring that focus back internally. Bring the hands into the prayer position. The spine is lifted, the chest is open. Take a few full breaths here as you bring yourself completely back to the present. When you feel ready, on the next breath, then let the eyes gently flutter open and focus. Namaste. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jess. See you next time.